The revelation came from the most unexpected source. Chief Historian Mordek stood before the emergency council session, his ancient hands shaking as he held a data crystal that contained records older than most civilizations. "I have been a fool," the elderly archive keeper said, his voice heavy with shame. "We all have been fools." Chairman Vextar leaned forward. "Explain yourself, historian." "The coordinates the Void Stalkers showed us," Mordek continued. "I recognized them. They match records from the early days of the Council, over 2,000 years ago." Captain Jake Morrison sat with his crew in the gallery, watching as the most powerful beings in the galaxy listened to truths they had tried to forget. "Those coordinates mark the homeworld of a species called the Umbral Collective," Mordek said. "They were spacefaring, peaceful, and highly intelligent. They communicated through harmonic frequencies and lived in perfect harmony with their environment." "Doctor." Kate Williams felt her heart sink as she realized where this was leading. "What happened to them?" Ambassador Lisa Carter asked, though she feared she already knew. "War," Mordok replied simply. "The Council's predecessor alliance saw the Umbral as a threat. Their technology was different, their methods of communication strange. Fear led to conflict. General Crix of the Draconian Empire stood up, his scales darker than usual. That was 2,000 years ago. Ancient history." "Is it?" Alex Reed asked. From the gallery. "Because I think the Umbral Collective never died. I think they became what you call Void Stalkers." The chamber fell silent. "Impossible," Webweaver Prime declared. "Void Stalkers are mindless predators." "Are they?" Chief Researcher Quindle said quietly. "Or did we make them that way?" Mordek activated the data crystal, and the chamber's screens showed images from the ancient war. Beautiful cities on a dark world, graceful beings that moved like living shadows, art and architecture that spoke of deep intelligence and culture. "The war lasted 50 years, Mordok continued. "When it ended, the Umbral homeworld was declared dead. Their cities were destroyed, their survivors scattered. The official records say they went extinct." "But they didn't," Alex said, understanding flooding through him. "They survived, but they were broken, traumatized, reduced to basic survival instincts. The attacks on shipping," Kate added, pieces falling into place. "They weren't random violence. They were desperate attempts to communicate, misunderstood by species who only saw monsters." Chairman Vextar's glowing eyes dimmed. "If this is true, then the galaxy's greatest fear is based on our own guilt." "It explains everything," Alex continued. "Why they responded to peaceful contact. Why they travel in family groups. Why they showed us star charts. They're trying to tell us who they really are." General Crix slammed his fist down. "Even if this is true, it changes nothing. They're still dangerous. Dangerous because we made them that way," Ambassador Lisa Carter said firmly. "We turned a peaceful species into what we feared most." The debate that followed was heated and painful. Some council members refused to accept the truth. Others demanded immediate action to make amends. A few species withdrew their representatives entirely rather than face their ancestors' crimes. But Alex wasn't interested in politics. He was thinking about the star charts the Void Stalkers had shown him. "I want to go there," he announced during a brief recess. "To their homeworld?" Captain Jake Morrison nearly choked on his drink. "Alex, we don't even know if it's safe." "The Void Stalkers invited us," Alex replied. "They want us to see something. Maybe they want us to understand what we did to them. Or maybe they want revenge," Commander Ryan Blake pointed out. "If they wanted revenge, they could have taken it centuries ago," Kate said. "But they didn't. They've been trying to communicate, trying to reach out. We just weren't listening." The proposal to mount an expedition to the Umbral homeworld took 3 days of debate. In the end, It was approved by the narrowest possible margin. Captain Jake Morrison commanded the mission, using his ship the UES Frontier, along with a small Council escort fleet. Alex and Kate served as primary contacts, while representatives from 6 Council species came as observers. The journey to the coordinates took 2 weeks through hyperspace. When they finally arrived, what they found took everyone's breath away. The planet was beautiful. Dark continents under swirling purple skies, vast oceans that reflected starlight like mirrors. And in the ruins of the ancient cities, hundreds of void stalkers moved peacefully through the remains of their civilization. "Look at them," Kate whispered as they watched from orbit. "They're not monsters. They're survivors, living in the shadows of what they lost." The landing was the most nervous moment of Jake's career. But as their shuttle touched down near the largest ruined city, void stalkers emerged from the shadows, not with aggression, but with what could only be described as hope. Alex was the first to step out of the shuttle. Immediately, familiar forms approached him. The pack from Nexus Prime was there, along with dozens of others. They surrounded him not with threat, but with welcome. "They remember," Alex said in wonder. "They remember what they used to be." Over the following days, the expedition team worked with the Umbral to establish basic communication. It was slow work, but progress came faster than anyone expected. The Umbral had maintained their intelligence through the centuries of hardship. They had simply been too traumatized to trust. Alex became the bridge between 2 civilizations. His calm presence and genuine care allowed the Umbral to open up in ways they hadn't done for 2,000 years. He learned their songs, their history, their dreams of returning to the stars as more than just feared shadows. "They don't want revenge," he reported to the Council via hyperspace communication. "They want acknowledgement. They want their story told. They want to be remembered as more than monsters." The revelation split the Galactic Council permanently. Progressive species like the Helix Collective embraced the opportunity to make amends. Others, led by the Draconian Empire, refused to accept responsibility for ancient crimes, but Alex didn't care about politics. He cared about the future, working with both humans and progressive council species. He helped establish New Umbral, a joint colony where the scattered survivors could begin rebuilding their civilization. Human technology merged with ancient Umbral knowledge to create something beautiful and new. Dr. Kate Williams led research efforts that restored much of the lost Umbral culture. Their art, their music, their scientific achievements were preserved and shared with a galaxy that was finally ready to listen. The project wasn't without challenges. Some species still feared the Umbral. Others wanted to exploit their unique abilities. But Alex and his team worked tirelessly to protect their new friends while helping them find their place in the modern galaxy. 6 months after first contact, Alex stood in a classroom on New Umbral, teaching human children and young Umbral together. Outside the windows, the rebuilt spires of an ancient city reached toward the stars, while adult Umbral soared peacefully through the skies above. "Teacher Alex," asked a young human girl named Emma, "why were people afraid of the Umbral for so long?" Alex looked out at the peaceful scene beyond the window, where former monsters played with human children in the rebuilt gardens. "Because sometimes, Emma, fear makes us see enemies where we should see friends. The important thing is learning to look past that fear to find the truth underneath." A young Umbral beside Emma made a musical sound that translated roughly to agreement. The 2 children went back to their shared art project, creating something that neither species could have imagined alone. Alex smiled and returned to his lesson. Outside, Captain Jake Morrison's ship prepared for another mission, this time carrying Umbral ambassadors to establish formal relations with Council worlds. The galaxy would never be the same, and humanity had earned its place not through conquest, or superior technology, but through the simple act of extending compassion to those others, had abandoned that in the end. That was the most human thing of all. 3 weeks had passed since Alex Reed's first encounter with the Void Stalker. He had spent every day in the archives, studying centuries of reports and encounter records. The picture that emerged was troubling and fascinating at the same time. "Look at this pattern," Alex said to Dr. Kate Williams as they sat in the research lab. Every single attack followed the same sequence. The Void Stalkers approached slowly, made specific movements that could be attempts at communication, and only became aggressive when met with weapons fire. Kate nodded, reviewing the data on her screen. "It's like they were trying to make contact, not start fights." Captain Jake Morrison entered the lab with a worried expression. "Alex, we have a problem. Long-range sensors just detected something heading this way." "What kind of something?" Alex asked. 7 Void Stalkers traveling together in formation. They'll reach Nexus Prime in 2 hours. The blood drained from Kate's face. 7? They've never traveled in groups larger than 2. Jake's communication device buzzed urgently. "Morrison here. Captain, this is Chairman Vextar. Report to the council chamber immediately. Bring your entire team." When they arrived at the council chamber, panic filled the air. Representatives were shouting orders and demanding evacuation procedures. Some species were already preparing to leave the station. "Order! Order!" Chairman Vextar called out. "The situation is this. 7 Void Stalkers are approaching Nexus Prime in an unprecedented group formation. This has never happened in recorded history." General Crick stood up, his scales bright red with anger and fear. "We must evacuate immediately. 7 of those creatures could destroy the entire station. Or," Alex said quietly, "they could be coming to communicate." The chamber fell silent. All eyes turned to the human marine biologist who had already done the impossible once. "You can't be serious," General Crick said. 7 Void Stalkers means 7 times the danger." "Actually, it means something else entirely," Alex replied, standing up. "On Earth, when predators travel in groups, it's usually for social reasons. Hunting, yes, but also protection, family bonding, teaching the young. These aren't Earth animals," Webweaver Prime pointed out. "No, but intelligence follows similar patterns across species," Alex said. "If they're traveling together, it means they have complex social structures. And if they're coming here after what happened 3 weeks ago, they might be coming to see me." Chairman Vextar's yellow eyes grew brighter. "You believe they want to meet with you specifically?" "I think the one I bonded with told them about our encounter," Alex said. "Think about it. We know they can communicate across space. Word has spread. This is madness," General Crix declared. "We should destroy them before they reach the station." "With what?" Chief Researcher Quindle asked. "No weapon has ever harmed a Void Stalker. We've tried for centuries." "Ambassador Lisa," Carter spoke up. "What are you proposing, Alex?" Alex took a deep breath. "Let me meet with them. The same way I met with the first one." The chamber erupted in shocked voices. Even Captain Jake Morrison looked stunned. "Alex, one creature was dangerous enough," Jake said. 7 could kill you in seconds. "Or they could be the key to everything," Alex replied. "If I'm right about their intelligence, about their social structure, then this pack represents a chance to establish real communication. And if you're wrong, you die," Commander Ryan Blake said bluntly. Alex smiled. "Ryan, I've been wrong about animal behavior before, but not this wrong. I know what I saw in that first encounter. That creature was intelligent, social, and capable of forming bonds. If its packmates are here, it's because they want to understand what happened." Chairman Vextar looked around the chamber. "The decision is not yours alone, human. This affects the entire station. But before anyone could respond, Tim Foster burst into the chamber again. "Sir, the Void Stalkers just sent a message." "What kind of message?" Vextar demanded. "There, broadcasting the same harmonic frequencies that the first one used during its encounter with Alex. But it's more complex now, layered with multiple voices." Dr. Kate Williams jumped up. "They're singing. It's like a choir, but using the patterns from Alex's first meeting." "They remember," Alex said with wonder. "They're telling the others about our encounter using song." The chamber's main screen activated, showing the approaching group of Void Stalkers. They moved through space in a perfect formation. They're dark, forms graceful and purposeful. "Look at how they fly," Alex said. "That's not aggressive positioning. That's a peaceful approach formation." General Crix wasn't convinced. "How can you possibly know that?" "Because I've seen it before," Alex replied. "Whales do the same thing when approaching something they're curious about, but not sure they can." "Trust." Chairman Vextar stood up slowly. "If we allow this meeting, and you are wrong, the consequences could be catastrophic. If we don't allow it, and I'm right, we might miss the greatest opportunity in galactic history," Alex countered. For long minutes, the council debated. Species representatives argued about risk and potential. Finally, a vote was called. It was close, but Alex's proposal won by a single vote. "Very well," Chairman Vextar announced. "The human will be permitted to meet with the pack. But this time, we're taking additional precautions." 2 hours later, Alex stood in the same chamber where he had first encountered a Void Stalker. But this time, Kate Williams stood beside him. She had insisted on joining him, bringing recording equipment to document whatever happened. "Are you ready for this?" Kate asked as the chamber sealed. "As ready as anyone can be for making first contact with a potentially intelligent species," Alex replied. The lights dimmed, and the familiar cold wind began to blow. But this time, the sensation was different. Stronger, more complex. 7 Void Stalkers materialized in the chamber simultaneously. They were magnificent. Each one was slightly different in size and the pattern of their crystalline features. They moved with obvious coordination, but not like a hunting pack. More like a family group. Alex recognized one of them immediately. It was his friend from the first encounter, distinguishable by a unique pattern of scars along its head. "Hello again," Alex said softly. The familiar Void Stalker approached first, moving slowly and carefully. The others hung back, watching intently. When Alex extended his hand, his old friend nuzzled it gently, then turned to the others and made a series of harmonic sounds. "It's introducing you," Kate whispered in amazement. "Look at their body language. It's presenting you to the pack." One by one, the other Void Stalkers approached. Each one was cautious, but curious, allowing Alex to touch them briefly before moving back. Their red eyes studied him with obvious intelligence. Then something incredible happened. Kate had brought recordings of Earth animal sounds to test her theories about Void Stalker communication. When she played whale songs through the chambers, speakers, all 7 creatures became visibly excited. They began to respond with their own harmonic frequencies, creating complex musical patterns that filled the chamber with haunting beauty. It was clear they were trying to communicate, to share something important. "Alex," Kate said, her voice filled with awe, "look at the walls." The Void Stalkers were using their energy discharges to burn patterns into the chamber walls. Not random marks, but organized symbols, star charts. "They're showing us something," Alex realized. Coordinates. The patterns showed a region of space far from any known civilization. The Void Stalkers worked together, each one adding details to create a complete map. When they finished, the largest of the pack approached Alex. It lowered its massive head until its eyes were level with his. And then it did something that changed everything. It spoke, not in words, but in clear, musical tones that carried obvious meaning. The sound was hauntingly beautiful, like the song of space itself. "They want us to come with them," Alex said, somehow understanding. "They want to show us something." The pack had come not to destroy, but to invite humanity to see the truth that the galaxy had hidden for so long. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was unlike anything in its 1,000-year history. Angry voices filled the great chamber as representatives from 12 species argued about what they had witnessed. "It's impossible," shouted General Crix of the Draconian Empire, his scales flashing bright red with anger. "No one bonds with Void Stalkers. No one." Chairman Vextar tried to maintain order, but even his powerful voice was lost in the chaos. Ambassador Lisa Carter sat with her human delegation in the center of it all, watching alien politics unfold around them. "Maybe they use some kind of technology," suggested Chief Researcher Quindal of the Helix Collective. "Hidden devices, chemical sprays, something we couldn't detect." Dr. Kate Williams stood up. "We submit to any scanning you want. Check our equipment. Check Alex himself. You'll find nothing artificial about what happened." "Then explain it," demanded the metal spider creature known as Webweaver Prime. "Explain how your species can do what no other has managed in a millennium." Before Kate could answer, a young researcher ran into the chamber. His name was Tim Foster, and he worked for the station's monitoring department. He looked nervous as hundreds of alien eyes turned toward him. "Sir," he said to Chairman Vextar, "I have something you need to see." Vextar Elo eyes glowed. "Brighter. What is it?" "External sensor footage from during the trial," Tim replied, his voice shaking. "You need to see this right away." The main screen in the chamber activated, showing a view of space around Nexus Prime. At first, everything looked normal. The station floated peacefully among the stars. Then shapes began to appear. 3 massive forms materialized out of the darkness, moving toward the station. They were Void Stalkers, but these were even larger than the one Alex had encountered. They approached Nexus Prime slowly, deliberately. "When was this recorded?" Vextar demanded. "During the humans' trial," Tim answered. "They appeared exactly when the test began, stayed for the entire 2 hours, then left when it ended." The chamber fell completely silent. In the recorded footage, the 3 Void Stalkers floated near the station's outer hull. They weren't attacking or trying to break in. They were just watching. "They've never done that before," whispered the tree-like being called Root Singer. "Void Stalkers don't travel in groups. They don't observe. They attack." Captain Jake Morrison felt a chill run down his spine. "You're saying they were watching Alex?" "It appears so," Tim replied. "But that's not the strangest part. The screen changed to show sensor readings from inside the station. During the trial, the Void Stalker in the chamber was sending out some kind of signal. Very low frequency, almost impossible to detect." "What kind of signal?" Dr. Kate Williams asked. "We're not sure," Tim admitted, "but the 3 outside were responding to it. They were communicating." General Crix slammed his clawed hand on his chair. "Impossible. Void Stalkers are mindless predators. They don't communicate." "The evidence suggests otherwise," Chief Researcher Quindle said quietly. "If they can communicate, if they can coordinate their actions, then we've been wrong about them for centuries." Ambassador Lisa Carter stood up. "Maybe that's exactly the point. Maybe we've been so afraid of them that we never tried to understand them." "Understand them?" General Crix roared. "They destroyed 3 of our colonies. They killed thousands of Draconian warriors." "Did they?" Alex Reed asked, speaking for the first time since entering the chamber. "Or were they trying to communicate? And you responded with weapons?" The general's scales turned an even brighter shade of red. "How dare you suggest that we—" I'm not suggesting anything, Alex interrupted calmly. I'm asking a question. Has anyone ever tried to communicate with them peacefully? The chamber erupted in angry voices again. But through the noise, one quiet voice could be heard. No, said Chief Historian Mordock of the Archive Keepers. No one has ever tried. The argument slowly died down as everyone turned to look at the ancient historian. Mordock was old even by the standards of his long-lived species. He had been keeping records for over 500 years. In all our documented encounters with void stalkers, Mordock continued, every species has responded with immediate aggression or retreat. No one has ever attempted peaceful contact. Because they're monsters, General Crix insisted. Are they? Alex asked. Or are they just misunderstood? Captain Jake Morrison watched his marine biologist friend with growing admiration. Alex had a talent for seeing past fear to the truth underneath. It had made him one of Earth's best animal behaviorists. What are you proposing? Chairman Vextar asked. Let me study them properly, Alex replied. Give me access to your historical records, your encounter reports, everything you have. Let me look at their behavior patterns with fresh eyes. Absolutely. Not, General Crix declared. It's too dangerous. But Chief Researcher Quindle was nodding thoughtfully. Actually, it might work. The Helix Collective has always believed in scientific study over warfare. The Resonance beings agree, chimed a voice that sounded like singing crystals. We have lost too many ships to fear. Perhaps understanding is a better path. Slowly, other council members began to voice their support. Not all of them, but enough to matter. Chairman Vextar looked around the chamber, then back at Alex. Very well. You will have access to our archives, but you will work under heavy guard, and at the first sign of danger, the project ends. Understood, Alex replied. As the council session ended and the various species began to file out, Jake noticed something troubling. Several of the more aggressive species, led by General Crix, were clustering together in heated discussion. I don't like the look of that, Commander Ryan Blake muttered. Neither do I, Jake agreed. Keep an eye on our ships. I have a feeling some of our new friends aren't happy about this development. Meanwhile, Dr. Kate Williams was already deep in conversation with Chief Researcher Quindle about setting up proper research protocols. Her excitement was obvious as she discussed the possibilities. Alex stood quietly, looking out through one of the chamber's windows at the stars beyond. Somewhere out there, 3 void stalkers had watched over his encounter with their fellow creature. They had communicated across space, coordinated their actions, shown what might have been concern for their companion. If they were truly intelligent, truly capable of communication, then everything the galaxy believed about them was wrong. And if Alex was right, he was about to turn the known universe upside down. But first, he had to prove it. And that meant going back into the chamber with creatures that every other species considered the ultimate monsters. The thought should have terrified him. Instead, Alex found himself looking forward to it. He had a feeling he was about to make some very interesting new friends. The trial chamber was enormous. Alex Reed stood at the center of a transparent dome that stretched up 50 feet above his head. The walls were so clear they were almost invisible, but he knew they were strong enough to contain whatever was coming. Outside the chamber, hundreds of aliens filled the viewing galleries. Representatives from all 12 council species had come to watch. Jake Morrison stood with his crew in the front row, his hands pressed against the observation window. Are you sure about this? Kate Williams asked through the communication system. Her voice sounded small and far away. Alex looked up at his friends and smiled. I'm sure. Chairman Vextar's voice echoed through the chamber. Human Alex Reed, you have chosen to face the trial of the Void Stalker. No species has ever survived this encounter. Do you wish to change your mind? No, Alex said firmly. Let's begin. The lights in the chamber dimmed until Alex could barely see his own hands. A cold wind began to blow from nowhere, carrying strange smells that reminded him of lightning and deep ocean water. Then it appeared. The void stalker materialized out of the darkness like a living shadow. It was massive, at least 12 feet tall, with a body that seemed to shift and flow like black liquid. Crystalline fangs gleamed in its mouth, and multiple red eyes burned with an angry light. When it moved, Alex could hear the sound of claws scraping against the chamber floor. In the observation gallery, several aliens stepped back from the windows. Even through the protective barriers, the creature's presence was terrifying. But Alex did something nobody expected. He sat down, cross-legged in the center of the chamber. Alex lowered himself to the floor and closed his eyes. The void stalker stopped moving and tilted its head, clearly confused by this behavior. What is he doing? Commander Ryan Blake whispered. I don't know, Jake replied, his heart pounding. Alex began to breathe slowly and deeply. He had learned this technique while swimming with great white sharks. Predators could sense fear and excitement. They responded to quick movements and aggressive postures. But calm, steady behavior often confused them. The void stalker circled him like a giant cat studying a strange new toy. Its red eyes never left Alex's still form. When Alex didn't move or show fear, the creature came closer. Remarkable, Dr. Kate Williams said quietly. Look at its body language. The aggressive posture is changing. She was right. The void stalker's claws had retracted slightly. Its head was no longer held low in attack position. Instead, it moved with the curious grace of an animal investigating something new. Alex began to hum. It was a simple tune his grandmother had sung to him when he was scared as a child. The melody was soft and repetitive, like the sound of ocean. Waves on a beach. He didn't sing words, just let the music flow naturally. The effect on the void stalker was immediate. The creature stopped circling and stood perfectly still, its head turned toward Alex like a dog listening to its masters. Voice. In the observation gallery, the council members were whispering frantically among themselves. This had never happened before. Void stalkers were supposed to attack immediately. They were pure predators with no interest in anything except hunting and feeding. Alex slowly opened his eyes and looked directly at the creature. Its multiple red eyes stared back at him. For a long moment, neither moved. Then Alex did something that made everyone in the gallery gasp. He extended his hand, palm up, toward the void stalker. Alex, don't, Kate whispered, but he couldn't hear her anymore. His entire focus was on the magnificent creature in front of him. The void stalker lowered its massive head and sniffed Alex's hand. Its breath was warm and smelled like ozone after a thunderstorm. Very carefully, Alex turned his hand over and let his fingers brush against the creature's forehead. The void stalker's eyes closed. Impossible, Chairman Vextar said from his seat in the gallery. This cannot be happening, but it was happening. The void stalker was responding to Alex's touch like a giant cat enjoying being petted. When Alex moved his hand to scratch behind what might have been ears, the creature actually leaned into the contact. Minutes passed, then an hour. The gallery had grown completely silent as everyone watched the impossible scene below. Alex continued to hum his grandmother's lullaby while gently stroking the creature's head and neck. The void stalker had settled down beside him, its massive body curled around Alex like a protective barrier. The readings are incredible, Kate whispered to Jake. Its stress hormones have dropped to almost nothing. Brain activity shows patterns, similar to sleep or deep relaxation. How is this possible? Jake asked. I don't know, Kate replied, but Alex was right. There's definitely more to these creatures than we were told. After 2 hours, Alex slowly stood up. The Void Stalker raised its head and watched him with what could only be described as sadness. "I have to go now," Alex said softly, speaking to the creature as if it could understand him. "But maybe we'll see each other again." He walked toward the chamber exit, moving slowly so he wouldn't startle his new friend. The Void Stalker followed him to the transparent wall and pressed its massive head against the barrier. Its red eyes tracked Alex's movement as he disappeared through the doorway dot in the observation gallery. Chaos had erupted. Council members were shouting at each other in dozens of different languages. Some were demanding investigations. Others were calling for immediate adjournment. Jake rushed to meet Alex as he emerged from the chamber. "Are you hurt? Are you okay?" "I'm fine," Alex replied, but his eyes were still focused on the chamber, where the Void Stalker remained pressed against the wall, watching them. "What did you do in there?" Commander Ryan Blake asked. "I listened," Alex said simply, "and I showed it that I wasn't a threat." Chairman Vexstar appeared before them, his silver skin darker than before. "This changes nothing," he declared. "The trial is not complete until the creature leaves the chamber." As if it had heard him, the Void Stalker turned away from the wall. But instead of vanishing as quickly as it had appeared, it moved to the center of the chamber and lay down in the exact spot where Alex had first sat. There it remained, as if waiting for Alex to return. "Well," Alex said, looking up at the confused and frightened faces around him, "I think we passed your test." But even as he spoke, Alex couldn't shake the feeling that the real test was just beginning. The way the Void Stalker had responded to him suggested these creatures were far more intelligent than anyone realized. And if that was true, then everything the galaxy believed about them might be wrong. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his ship, the UES Frontier. Through the main window, he could see Nexus Prime Station growing larger as they approached. The massive space station looked like a giant metal flower floating in the darkness of space. Its many arms stretched out in all directions, each one bigger than his entire ship. "Sir, we're getting a signal from the station," said Lieutenant Carol Banks from her position at the communications desk. "They're ready for us." Jake nodded and straightened his uniform. Today was the most important day in human history. After years of sending radio signals into space, someone had finally answered. The Galactic Council wanted to meet with Earth's representatives. "Take us in nice and slow," Jake told his pilot, Commander Pete Sullivan. "We don't want to look threatening." Ambassador Lisa Carter walked onto the bridge, wearing her best diplomatic clothes. She had spent months preparing for this meeting. Behind her came Dr. Alex Reed, a marine biologist who studied ocean animals, and Dr. Kate Williams, who specialized in alien life forms. Commander Ryan Blake, the ship's security chief, followed close behind them. "How are you feeling, Ambassador?" Jake asked. Lisa smiled, but Jake could see she was nervous. "Ready as I'll ever be. We're about to make history." The Frontier docked with Nexus Prime without any problems. As they walked through the airlock, Jake was amazed by what he saw. The station was huge inside, with ceilings so high he couldn't see the top. Strange beings walked through the corridors. Some looked like giant insects, others like living crystals, and some he couldn't even describe. A tall, thin alien with blue skin and 4 arms approached them. "Welcome to Nexus Prime," it said in perfect English. "I am Guide Kelter. The Council is waiting for you." They followed Kelter through long hallways filled with amazing sights. Floating platforms carried aliens from place to place. Walls showed moving pictures of distant worlds. The air smelled like flowers Jake had never experienced before. Finally, they reached a massive round room with a high dome ceiling. 12 different types of aliens sat in chairs arranged in a circle. At the center of the circle was a small area with 5 chairs for the human delegation. "Humans of Earth," said a voice that seemed to come from everywhere at once. "I am Chairman Vextar of the Zephyrian Empire. You stand before the Galactic Council." Jake looked up and saw the speaker. Vextar was enormous, at least 10 feet tall, with silver skin and glowing yellow eyes. His voice was deep and powerful, like thunder in the distance. "We thank you for this opportunity," Lisa said, her voice steady despite the intimidating surroundings. "Humanity is honored to meet the Council." Several of the aliens made sounds that might have been laughter, not the friendly kind. "Many species seek to join our Council," Vextar continued. "Most are not worthy. We have a test that determines if a species deserves membership." "What kind of test?" Lisa asked. A different alien spoke up. This one looked like a giant spider made of metal. "Every species must prove they can survive an encounter with a void stalker." Dr. Kate Williams leaned forward. "What exactly is a void stalker?" The metal spider's eyes glowed brighter. "The galaxy's apex predator. They are creatures of pure destruction. No species has ever successfully defended against them. No weapon can harm them. No shield can stop them." "Then how is this a fair test?" Commander Ryan Blake asked. "It is not meant to be fair," Vextar replied. "It is meant to show us what you are made of. Most species flee immediately when they see a void stalker. Those that stay usually die within minutes." Jake felt his stomach drop. "How many species have passed this test?" "None," said a voice from across the circle. The speaker looked like a walking tree with glowing fruits for eyes. "In the past 1,000 years, 43 species have attempted the trial. All failed. What happened to them?" Dr. Alex Reed asked. Quietly, "The lucky ones ran away and never returned," the tree being said. "The others were consumed." Lisa looked at her team. This was much worse than they had expected. Earth's leaders had sent them hoping for peaceful contact and trade agreements. Nobody had mentioned deadly trials. "Perhaps we should discuss this privately," Lisa began. "There is nothing to discuss," Vextar interrupted, "except the trial or leave. Those are your only choices." Jake watched as the council members stared at them with expressions ranging from boredom to amusement. It was clear they expected the humans to give up and go home, just like the other species had done. But then Dr. Alex Reed stood up. "I'll do it," he said simply. The room fell completely silent. Even the background humming of the station's machinery seemed to stop. "Alex, no," Dr. Kate Williams whispered. "You heard what they said. Nothing survives these creatures." "I volunteer." "For the trial," Alex repeated, louder this time. Vextar's glowing eyes widened. "You understand what you are agreeing to?" "I understand that 43 species have tried and failed," Alex said calmly. "But none of those species were human." More of those unpleasant laughing sounds came from around the circle. "Humans," said the metal spider, always so arrogant. "Very well. The trial will take place tomorrow. Use your remaining time wisely." As they were escorted back to their quarters, Commander Ryan Blake grabbed Alex's arm. "Are you insane? You just volunteered to be eaten by some space monster." Alex smiled. "Ryan, I've spent my whole career studying predators. Sharks, giant squids, deep-sea creatures that most people think are monsters. There's always more to them than meets the eye." "This isn't Earth, Alex," Kate said. "These things might be completely different from anything we know." "Maybe," Alex replied. "But I've learned something in all my years studying dangerous animals. Fear makes us see monsters where there might just be misunderstood creatures." That night, Jake couldn't sleep. He stood at the window of their quarters, looking out at the stars. Tomorrow, one of his crew members might die, and there was nothing he could do to stop it. But as he watched, Alex calmly reading through the limited data they had been given about void stalkers. Jake felt something he hadn't expected. Pride. Whatever happened tomorrow, Alex Reed was about to show the galaxy what humans were really made of.